we're talking about essential oils tonight and other natural solutions as well. So I think the first thing we want to discuss, Lauren, is what are essential oils?
So everyone is familiar with herbs. Okay. So essential oils are basically little pockets of oil, or kind of sometimes it's resin, that sit within, maybe it's the stem. So like everyone is familiar with cinnamon bark. So cinnamon bark has essential oil in the bark, whereas in rose, you're going to get the essential oil in the actual petals. And then when we talk about something like orange, you're going to get the essential oil in the rind. You know, when you peel an orange and it shoots you in the eyeball, like that juice, that's probably the essential oil that got you. So that's not actually the juice, but that was probably the essential oil that was in the rind. So essential oils are just going to be.
That's the zest.
Yes, the zest, right. A very potent chemistry. Think of a plant's, kind of the plant's immune system, since they can't get up and walk away from, insects or pesticides or whatever else. Think of their immune system in those little pockets of essential oils, and then they're going to be 50 to 80 times more potent than herbs. So we're talking highly concentrated doses of plant material. So in a bottle of lavender, when it's done correctly, so we're just talking about doTERRA oils, you're going to have 30 pounds of lavender in a tiny little bottle of lavender. Or like one drop of peppermint is like having about 38 bags of peppermint tea. So it's much more intense, which means we have some really cool chemistry in there. So you can use oils aromatically, which means like in a diffuser, and usually people are using that to make something smell good. You can use them topically. So I use them in my office when I'm working on clients. I do a lot of soft tissue work. So basically I put oils on the injured tissue area or wherever I've worked, so they don't hate me so much the next day because I'm making them sore, and to kind of have the tissue become more malleable and deal with things, to promote a normal inflammatory response, to help with discomfort, things like that. Or you can take them internally. So I think a lot of you have lemon. So I have grapefruit in my water because that's what was, when I went to grab my water, that's what was there. So I've got grapefruit essential oil in my water. I know you guys have talked about lemon before. So those are kind of the 3 different ways that you can use essential oils. So I always kind of explain it whenever patients come in and they're like, yeah, I use oils. And I usually try to carefully be like, okay, what brand do you trust? Because I think it's great when someone's first getting their healthy steps towards better products. It's wonderful, right? But we all know, since you guys are getting into the health and wellness industry, we'll say, that when it comes to supplements or marketing, things can be very deceiving, unfortunately. So there is no, we'll just say, regulation as far as what essential oils can or cannot be. So the way that I would kind of describe it is, you might buy something that smells like peppermint and your nose won't really be able to tell the difference yet. But most likely it's more closer to a perfume than it is an essential oil. So it probably will not help with your head discomfort or not help with your GI upset, because it's more either made of synthetic things, or it could be filled with pesticides. There just isn't quite enough testing for that essential oil to be pure, versus when you're going to buy something of the quality of doTERRA, then that is where you can use them medicinally. So the easy way to say is that I've grown 2 babies on essential oils. This is what I use for my 96-year-old grandmother, and what I'll put on my 4-month-old, because I trust it and I know it's safe, and I know exactly where it came from, because I can actually trace on the bottle who grew it, where it was harvested, how it was harvested. But the point is, it's not to be a chemistry snob, because sometimes that can kind of sound, like, oh, you can't use that brand, or a brand snob. It's just that chemistry is really important when we're talking about using them in the way that you can and should be able to. So it's easy to cut corners when things are grown. And that's where we call it essential oil adulteration, basically, where the middleman kind of cut corners on how it was grown, how quickly it was grown, the climate it was grown in, and that people are growing things too fast because they want to get paid. The beautiful thing with doTERRA is they form partnerships of wherever essential oils are grown, which are usually the corners of the world in 3rd world countries where people really need a good quality pay, and they have a wonderful product. And so we form this beautiful partnership where they produce great products, they get paid equally and fairly, and we get essential oils that don't have to be cut corners. And now you can use them safely on your infant or your grandmother or whatever it is, and not feel like you're not really sure what's in that bottle and what it's going to do. So doTERRA, as far as essential oils go, doTERRA it's going to be the best you are ever going to find. I hands down promise you, you will never find anything better.
And the toxic load is when it's accumulating. So we don't want to have a heavy toxic load. We want to do everything we can to support our body instead of tearing it down. We're all trying to go for optimal health. So we eat clean, and we are looking in our home environment as well. What can we do so that we aren't ever looking at a terrible diagnosis and looking back with regret saying, why did I not clean this up?
So these are just some simple ways. I think I tried to think of this as, what's the easiest way to think of detoxing? Because I started slowly, right? So when I started into essential oils, it's not like I just jumped in and bought everything at once and started using it, because it's overwhelming. Just when you start getting into this world, right? You're like, am I going to die from my carpet or whatever it is, right? It becomes a little bit overwhelming. And really what I tell patients all the time is, first of all, it's what you do consistently. And then what you can do, like think about your biggest exposures. What are the home runs first? So I think when I really started detoxing in my house was when I had children, because then I realized that they were putting their little hands and feet are going into everything, and their mouth is going into everything. And so that kind of made me think of how to clean things up. So first, I think, of course we can, like Catherine was saying, you can reduce your exposure to toxins and just try to limit choosing smarter products, even just what you do on a daily basis, things like that. But I think what you drink, because you're going to drink every single day, that's a really simple tool that, first of all, will actually help you drink more water, because when water tastes better, we're all going to drink more of it. And it will help your body detoxify better. So the simple trick of putting some lemon in your water every single day to try to hit those water goals, which I always tell patients, I want at least 50% of your body weight in ounces of water a day. If you're drinking caffeine, technically we need maybe a little bit more. And if you live in a humid climate like Houston, and especially in the summer, you're going to need a little bit more. But 50% generally, you're going to hit your mark. So 50% of your body weight in ounces of water, add a few drops of whatever essential oil you like. But I think lemon or any of the citrus oils are very detoxifying. So you could do grapefruit, you could do wild orange, add that to glass or stainless steel, because I've heard this a million times when people get oils and they're so excited and they put it in plastic. And I promise you, it will eat through this. Like I have people that thought their styrofoam cup just had a hole in it, but it's because the essential oil ate through the styrofoam. So just using glass or stainless steel. And I've also had many cases where I have patients come in with like a sluggish GI system, which is a large way of how we detox, right? Is you need to be going to the bathroom every single day. Every patient that comes in, I ask them if they poop. We're just going to use, okay, like it's okay to say poop. Like everyone needs to be pooping every single day, at least once. And honestly, you can see it as early as children, because since I'm in the mommy mode right now, I mean, my daughter is very regular multiple times a day. And when we're at the park and the parents are amazed that she's had a bowel movement, I want to be like, does your kid not poop? Like it starts that early, right? Because of the food that we eat. And so you can kind of see that process start to get sluggish and slow down, and you want that regular evacuation. So I've helped patients very simply just by adding lemon in their water first thing in the morning, and it kind of gets things going. A lot of times people will say coffee does the same thing, and you can do both. But we want to get that essential oil in there. The nice thing is so citrus oils, essential oils in general are going to go in and out of your cells very easily, because essential oils are made of fatty acids. Your cell, the cell wall, is a lining of fatty acids, which just means you have to like and like, so it will repel a water soluble something, but fat soluble can get through very easily. So citrus oils in particular are going to go, well, essential oils in general are going to go in and out of your cells, but citrus oils are going to help to detox your fat cells, because our fat cells kind of hold a bunch of inflammatory stuff, toxins that we don't, excrete very easily. And so citrus oils are actually really great to help flush those fat cells. And you could apply topically, but again, water is usually the easiest. And then other ways, of course, we can speed up the bowel movements through other essential oils. And then supplementation, I think, is kind of, those are the easy ways for you to get into a healthy routine of detoxing your body. And we'll talk about supplements in a little bit.
And so I just want to add in too, most people know lemon in the water is good detoxing, but often people will say, but I can't have it because I have acid reflux, I have GERD. Well, because this is not from the inside of the lemon, but it's from the outside, it does not have that citric acid in it. So it does not affect the enamel of your teeth, and it doesn't affect your gastrointestinal lining either. So everyone in this group is kind of over the sugar, the artificial sweeteners, but we're always still looking, are there other things, these artificial colorings, these sneaky food additives that are not clearly defined and things. And these are all adding to toxins. But maybe you hadn't thought about too, even the fish and the mercury in the fish and our amalgam fillings, especially if you're like my age. The lead, if you have an older house, chances are you might have lead in the dust of your house. And I just heard today, 70% of lipsticks still have lead in them. It's outrageous. So in our water supply, water filtration, really good filtration is so important, because there we have chlorine and fluoride, which are both toxins. Plastics are everywhere. And we hear about this all the time, and the microplastics that are everywhere. And often there's mold hidden in a home as well. If you've ever had water in your basement or in carpeting, it's likely you may have some mold there as well. So all of these things add to toxins that we're looking for, and then trying to counterbalance and eliminate as well.
When I was thinking of how do I introduce essential oils briefly to y'all, it was okay. Again, where did I start in replacing some of those products in my home? And so most of them were trying to get rid of these things, the scents and the dyes and the preservatives. That's kind of maybe a little more food related, but the scents especially. So a lot of times you guys have probably heard of hormone disruptors before, especially raising, I have a 4-month-old and a 2.5-year-old. So I'm trying to, and they're both female. So I'm trying to think of how do I delay the prompting of all of those estrogen dominant things and changing, basically like I'm molding my children now to what's going to happen in their teen years and how their hormone system is going to work. And a lot of that is related to the detergents that I use, the soaps that I use, the soaps that are on my body if I'm nursing, things like that. So you want to be on the lookout for your cleaning products, laundry detergents and laundry soaps. The deodorants are big, especially if we're talking about getting rid of aluminum, lotions, makeups, sunscreen, clothing, and just all the materials that you put on your body. I believe that I heard Febreze. I believe Febreze, I can't even remember how many toxic chemicals are in Febreze, but I believe 1 or 2 of them actually make your olfactory nerve numb. So they will kill your olfactory nerve, which is just insane to me. Now, maybe people can't smell because of COVID anyway, who knows? But once you start getting into a more natural approach, I think, and then you smell some of these things, it is an alarming smell, because your brain starts to be able to tell the difference. It's kind of like when you start eating clean and you start getting rid of sugar, and then you introduce it and your body is like, what is happening? I feel awful. It's kind of the same thing with those scents. Once you get rid of them, I can smell people's laundry detergent. And I know that sounds judgy, but now that it's not in my home, and I'm a dry cleaner's daughter, Okay, my family's probably preserved from the inside out with chemicals because that's just the way it is. We grew up on Tide and all of it. But when I had my oldest, she is incredibly sensitive. Her skin is, even with essential oils sometimes. So we have to be careful. And she, as an infant, would put on clothes that people had gifted us, which was so kind and so generous. And she would start itching uncontrollably. And we washed them. I'm not kidding you. We washed some of those clothes, I think 10 times. I soaked them in vinegar. I put in all the oils, all the lemon, doesn't matter how many times, because you could take them out and you could smell them, that they were still from a certain type of detergent. And we just couldn't wear them because she would itch herself to death. And I was so amazed at, here's this pristine little nervous system, right? And her skin is saying absolutely not, because, and we could smell it, right? But you could tell that just meant think of how chemically derived that had to be washed 10 times and you can still smell those smell crystals or whatever it is, right? I mean, that gets to be kind of where all that toxic load and all that toxic stuff is. So you guys can see the picture, but with the air fresheners and things like that, it's all the Glade plugins, all the stuff when I was a teenager that I wanted my mom to make the house smell good, or a boy's room or whatever it was. That's the kind of stuff that we want to start to get rid of. And you will actually see allergies improve. You will see just general immunity improve because your nasal passages, as well as your immune system, is not being bombarded with all these chemicals that has to detox nonstop.
Lauren, I would say I would compare this to someone who's quit smoking, and then the smell of smoke is so annoying, unattractive. It just really bothers them. Mm-hmm. When you really only have clean scents around you, it is terrible. And so I want to talk about this next item, and I have this right here. Now, those of you in the group are probably going to laugh because another daughter-in-law gave me this gift. Okay. And so the funny thing is, don't they know me yet? All right. So this is a reed diffuser. It's a beautiful package. So I always teach, don't look at the front of the package. Marketing is wonderful. This looks so elegant and good. So I don't know if you can read what these ingredients say, but it may cause an allergic skin reaction, toxic to aquatic life with long-lasting effects. Avoid breathing fumes. This is a reed diffuser that's meant to put the scent into the air. Avoid release to the environment. This is a completely toxic item. I just don't even know how to throw this out. I certainly don't want to put it down the water, the drain, right? I just don't even know. I feel like I need to take it to our hazardous chemicals garage or something to eliminate this. But this is why I teach, please, please always read labels.
So these are just some other ideas. Cleaning swaps. This is kind of where I started. On Guard is doTERRA's brand. It's their immune brand. So it's cinnamon, clove, wild orange, eucalyptus, and rosemary. It kind of smells like Christmas. Fantastic for everything immune. So I usually tell my patients you want to get your daily dose of On Guard if you're doing a preventative health routine, but they make it into a cleaning concentrate as well. They make it into detergent, toothpaste, everything you can think of, which of course is all in my house. But again, speaking of, if you have pets, if you have children, if you have grandchildren, if you go barefoot in your house or whatever it is, but your skin is your largest organ, right? So you are going to absorb whatever it is that you touch. So this is just a really simple swap. I think of when you're getting into okay, how do I reduce the chemical exposure in my house? Swap to a natural cleaning product. And again, that's where marketing gets a little confusing, right? And you need to kind of know your labels, because even at the grocery store, more natural sometimes is not necessarily going to have a ton less of chemical exposure. So I just really prefer everything. I've been with this company for long enough that everything that they're going to put out, I know and trust. So all of their cleaning products was a very easy swap for me. And then this gives just other, suggestions of, you could use On Guard for everything. And I know people who DIY everything. So I'm kind of a simple, just make it prepackaged for me, so it's easier, but you could make your own hand soap. I do that. You could, make carpet refreshers. My old bottles, I'll put them in Epsom salt or in baking soda and then use that to sprinkle. Stain remover, it definitely will get every stain out, because speaking with the 2 little kids, toilet scrub, whatever it is that you want, it can be an all-purpose cleaner, or you can use essential oils for literally everything. And when you ask, will it kill everything? So I have to speak as compliantly as possible on here, but the answer is going to be yes. And I want you, if you Google On Guard, like 5th grade science project On Guard, a little kid took, those little Petri dishes and sprinkled some On Guard, and because the picture is worth 1,000 words, and the fact that it was a 5th grader is the best. Did some On Guard on the Petri dish, and then did, everything else. And you can visually see what grew and what did not grow. But the nice thing about essential oils, and particularly this On Guard blend, is it's going to be, again, speaking as compliantly as possible, have wonderful immune boosting properties in every area you can think of. So if we are talking about, fungi, or the things that can bombard us, viruses or bacteria, essential oils have been shown to be very effective at helping our body fight and do the job it is supposed to do.
And then the beautiful thing, it does not even have a warning label on it, like call Poison Control Center if taken internally, none of that, because it is non-toxic.
Yes. So again, I would say for you, when I meet with clients, or patients, it's kind of, what's your biggest impact? And what's going to be the switch of where you want to start? Where's your biggest exposure? Where usually, actually, I forgot to put this in. I was going to have you guys do like a self-assessment. I'm in my office, I'm teaching a class tomorrow where we're doing, instead of a new year, new you thing, but like hey, let's do a health assessment. How am I doing physically, emotionally, all those kinds of things. So you can kind of do an assessment, like, where am I doing in my house? How am I doing with exposure? How am I, a health assessment, like, where would I rate myself from 1 to 10? And then that's kind of maybe where you would start attacking, replacing things with a more holistic approach, like swapping candles, getting rid of those plugins. The dryer sheets are big, perfumes, things like that. So the biggest thing, because I always like to speak from empowerment instead of fear, but it's just remember you're creating habits, right? And that's going to create lifestyle changes. And honestly, truly, I believe in this. That's what's going to create those generational changes. So my grandmother's 96 and she's incredibly healthy and just always has been holistic, and she's a big inspiration for me to want to be that healthy at 96, and make sure that I'm teaching my girls that they can go and grab the peppermint when they have a tummy ache instead of going to grab the Pepto-Bismol. That's a big driver for me.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about supplements. I know we're running way later than usual, but there's a lot to talk about. And then we will be opening it up to discussion.
So all these products I think are fantastic. When I meet with clients, I used to tiptoe around this because I didn't want people to think I was being over aggressive. But the truth is, with health, when you're looking at optimal health, you need an inside out approach, which is why you all are speaking about food so much, right? Because that's what you do most consistently, is it's what you eat, how you sleep, what you drink. So for me, the way I attack the inside out detoxification process is truly with supplementation. That's Catherine was laughing because I just took mine before we started. But your whole body will function better when all systems are cohesively working. So these supplements, the long and the short of it are, I have taken these for, I don't know, since 8 years now. I've grown 2 babies on them. I didn't do prenatals. They made me throw up and they were full of sugar and dyes. So this is what I have always trusted. This is what if my parents would be compliant, I would get them on all the time. So I have many, many patients who take this, whether it's a preventative health routine or because they have specific needs, whether it's pain or an inflammatory issue or an autoimmune, it always varies. But this is kind of where we start with inside out health. And then there are are some specific supplements that do help with detoxification, specifically because of the essential oils that are in them. So lastly, this was kind of, since this was a detoxification class, Zendocrine is a great supplement as well. Then they have two different forms, but I think the oil form, which is the detoxification supplement, is really great. So it is various citrus essential oils, mostly citrus, that help specifically to assist your organs, so your detoxification organs, which are, you know, liver, kidneys, colon, lungs, and skin, at doing a better job. So it is specifically, the chemistry is there to help support those organs with detoxification. I don't necessarily suggest people, it kind of depends on what you need. So some people need this every single day. I was telling Catherine, I have a patient who needs to be on opioids. So we kind of counterbalance the opioids with the detoxification supplement on a regular basis. And then sometimes people just need a shorter detoxification because of holidays, right? Or they went to a bachelorette party or what, you know, and drank too much, whatever it is. It just depends on what your needs and your goals are. But this is a good supplement if you feel like you need detoxification specifically.
I would agree. This is something actually I kind of forgot about, and you put it in this, and I'm like, oh, Zendocrine, I haven't used that for a long time. That would be something that we would even do as a group in January, New Year, New You, and we'd all make sure we did a big detox after the holidays, and Zendocrine was always part of that.